Good
Check.
morning, everybody.
Mic
You are
check.
here
Mic
live with
check is ready
Audio
to be
Lake
picked up.
7 Gen live stream. We are here today. You got a presentation done by, what's his dude's name again? Deshane Trottier from Wellness, Substance Abuse, and the Dangers and, hey, this guy's in the way, ramifications. Onion Lake Communiplex Healing Laws is brought to you by them. Okay, the Seagull School's presentation is supposed to be starting here at 11:30, and later on during Chief Taylor hours, it will be there as well. Okay, and we're gonna hand over the mic to Wellness now, to the presentation. Thank you.
Is that everybody? How come you just didn't swallow it? Oh, guys, this is great. Good morning. Find a seat, get comfortable. Milky Sukansik. Ape. Okay, I think that's probably everyone that we're going to get here today. So, good morning. My name is Deshane Trottier. I'm from Onion Lake Healing and Wellness. I'm here with my colleague, Priscilla Chisholm, and we're going to be presenting to you guys a presentation about substance abuse, the dangers and the ramifications that come along with it. So I think we can get started now already. So we all know that this week is NAAW Week, National Aboriginal Addictions Awareness Week, and we were mandated to come over here and present to you guys to educate you guys on the dangers and the ramifications of becoming involved in drug use and using substances. So we'll get started. So the first thing I wanted to point out to you guys is that we are an Indigenous community. You're all Indigenous kids. So I wanted to share some stats with you guys, and this is basically a breakdown of those stats and summarized so that, you know, we're not here going through every stat and I'm reading every number. So a 2014 to 15 Canadian study found that Indigenous youth, that's you guys, grades 9 to 12, had 5 times higher odds of being smokers and almost 3.5 times higher odds of having tried marijuana compared to non-Indigenous youth. They also report starting alcohol and marijuana use at younger ages. So what that means is to non-Indigenous youth who are living in the cities, who are living in rural communities like small towns. So anyone that isn't Indigenous like you guys have a higher chance of becoming involved with substance abuse, and that's a pretty harsh number. So that's why we're here today, present to you guys. So Indigenous youth are one of the fastest growing segments of Canada's population. They're also near the top of the list of Canadians most likely to die. The main factor causing the increased death rate is drug use. And this is what we're going to explore today, is the dangers of drug use and what can happen to you guys if you fall down that road of drug use. So I'm going to hand the mic off to my coworker. She's going to give you a little presentation.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about marijuana, weed, whatever. So a lot of you guys, if you are using it or trying it, or you guys are probably doing that because you're trying to use it as a coping mechanism for something like anxiety, maybe, to try and help you relax or deal with that or calm it down. And there's a big belief that marijuana is not as bad as alcohol, that it doesn't have as many damaging effects as alcohol, that it's better to use it or healthier to use it or whatever. But that's actually not true, especially for you guys being under the age of 25, because your brain is still developing until you are 25 years old. And there's been studies that have been done to show that teens using weed, marijuana, especially if they're using it often, like every day or several times a week, it's actually interfering in your brain's development because it's not done with that developing. So you guys have like neurons that are making connections as part of your brain development, and it has everything to do with memory, your focus, your ability to process information, your emotion regulation as well. So stuff that's related to anxiety, feelings of depression, like the low mood and sadness, that all can get interrupted and interfered with if you're using marijuana, especially if you're using it a lot. More so than it does with adults, but it does the same thing with adults too. And you may think, it also helps with making you fall asleep, but it's not helping you sleep well because it's not letting you get into REM phase of sleep, which you guys probably know. The REM phase of sleep is where you actually get that restful sleep, and marijuana use actually interferes with that. So it might make you fall asleep really quick, but then it's disrupting that REM sleep, so you're not actually getting that, and you're not getting any rest. So those are a few ways that it affects youth when you're using that on a regular basis. Also, it has the same kind of effect as alcohol for, driving while you're under the influence of it. It still affects your ability, your reaction time, your distance perception, all of that kind of thing that affects you with driving as well. So it's the same kind of effect on that as alcohol. I'm trying to think of anything else to add for that but I think that's pretty much it for weed.
Give her a hand, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So to sum up Priscilla's presentation, I know the idea of marijuana being legal now, that it's okay to use, but that's far from the truth for you guys, because like Priscilla said, your brain isn't fully grown until you're 25. You don't want to stunt that growth. You don't want to halt it, because when you're 25, you're an adult biologically, and then what are you going to do when you don't have the skills, the equipment needed to live a full adult life? So we're going to move on to the next slide. So these are the short-term effects that substance abuse has on your bodies as young Indigenous youth. Cognitive and mental effects: it impairs judgment, decision-making, memory and learning problems, mood swings and emotional issues, altered perceptions. Physical health effects are physical illnesses, cardiovascular issues, coordination problems. Behavioral and social effects: risky behaviors, social withdrawal, legal problems, neglected appearances. So these are all short-term effects that will impact you if you begin to use substances and you continue to use them through your young lives, you guys are very young. Your bodies are like sponges along with your minds. Anything that you absorb into your body is going to have a detrimental effect if you don't absorb the positive things. And the long-term effects include health consequences, brain development. You know, you're going to stunt your brain development. You're not going to be able to regulate your emotions. You're not going to be able to problem solve properly. It's going to impact your future and anything you wish to do after high school, even after university if you wish to go. Your mental health, a lot of substance users face mental health problems. Some of the severe cases is actually schizophrenia, different types of schizophrenia, anxiety issues, mental health issues. And it also creates long-term effects for your physical health. So organ damage, you know, liver failure, things like that. Cardiovascular issues, so if you're smoking or if you're smoking marijuana too much, you can develop lung cancer, respiratory issues like bronchitis, asthma, respiratory problems, infectious diseases. Infectious diseases doesn't only come from, you know, sharing needles with other people, you know, which is very prevalent in the AIDS community. But, you know, even just sharing pipes, even sharing alcohol, you can pass through bodily fluids, diseases like HPV, herpes, growth issues. It's very hard for your body to grow if you're constantly consuming illegal substances. Social and behavior consequences. There's the risk of addiction. You know, you develop a dependency on these substances to help you feel better, to help you dull the pain or any traumas that you might have went through as kids. Academic and career impairment. You know, it greatly lessens your chances of finding a job, a career that you guys want. Even now as kids, you know, you think about what you're going to be as an adult. You think about what you're going to do when you leave high school or college. Substances greatly reduces that possibility of you achieving that. Legal issues and delinquency. So crime rate. You could be involved in the crime rate if you continue to use substances. There's a greater chance of you facing legal issues, going to jail. After you go to jail, it's very hard to get a job. Relationship problems. So it's very hard to keep a relationship with family members, with friends, with girlfriends and boyfriends if, you know, you're involved in substance abuse. Accidents and violence. So, you know, you can get into car crashes by consuming alcohol and driving, or even smoking weed and then driving, or you can hurt other people, things like that. And I wanted to talk about some of the real world consequences and the real world dangers. So homeless, poverty, brain damage, legal issues, all of these are real world issues that can happen to you guys. I mean, you guys are going to be getting older, you guys are going to be growing up. Obviously, our parents, your teachers, anybody who's an adult influence in your life can't be with you 24/7 to tell you no, don't do this, don't use that, don't smoke it, don't drink it. Obviously, we can't be there every minute of your life. But if you do decide to partake in substance abuse, these are the kind of things you can be facing. You can grow up to be homeless. You can grow up to have no family. You can grow up with disease. You can grow up with damaged bodies where you won't even be able to do the things you like to do, like play sports, go to work, things like that, have a family even. You could get involved in the criminal justice system where, you know, you're looking towards your life as a criminal. That's not something that anybody thinks about, but that is a possibility when you decide to get involved with drugs. So to bring it closer to home in this community of ours, Onion Lake Cree Nation, we have lost community members to drugs. We've had ODs, people passing away from ODing, people passing away from car wrecks, from drinking and driving, violence even. People have been hurt. Kids like you guys have been traumatized by the things that kids have seen their parents do or their uncles or older kids do. You know, the drug problem in the community is very real, and I'm sure we all know somebody or know of someone or know of a family member that has faced drugs and the results of drugs. I just want to share with you guys my personal experience with drugs. So this past year, I had an older stepbrother who I really looked up to. He had moved to BC, and even before then, he became involved with, first it started with weed. He was in high school, you know, all high schoolers, you know, think smoking weed is cool and it just becomes a part of their life. Well, it became a big part of his life. He lost concentration, he lost focus. He did not want to go to school anymore, he dropped out. And then he turned to alcoholism, and then that took over his life. He was a musician. He was a Christian evangelist. So he traveled singing in churches, singing with his mom, and the alcoholism just took that away from him. And then soon after, he began to move into harsher drugs. So crystal meth, heroin, cocaine, all of the harsh drugs you can think of. My late brother had probably did it. In the past year, for the past 10 years, he'd been living in BC. Little to no contact with me, but more so contact with my stepdad. And then finally, last year, we had got the call that he had been found dead on the side of the road in BC. And it took us maybe 3 weeks to find out what happened to him, because the communication between BC government and with us, the family, is kind of hard to navigate. But ultimately, we did find out that my older stepbrother that I looked up to immensely, that he taught me how to play basketball. He's the one that got me into music. He's the one that motivated me to finish high school. Ultimately, I learned that he passed away from what's called a hot dose. So a hot dose is drug dealers, they don't care about anyone. They don't care about their patrons. They don't care about the families that they affect. A hot dose was given to my brother, which is basically, he told him, so here's what you're buying. You're going to have a good high. Little did my late brother know that there was a mixture of a high amount of fentanyl, cocaine, and heroin, all in one drug. So what happened was, my brother took the drug. He absorbed it or smoked it or snorted it. I don't know how he did it. He took it. He went into a mental state of drug-induced psychosis. He left his home, which was not much. He had a one-bedroom flat in BC. It was low income, so it was already in a poverty-stricken neighborhood. He was working towards his sobriety, but it's very hard to do that when you've depended on substances for over 10 years of your life. He relapsed, and that was his last relapse. He left his home in that state of psychosis, walked down the road, laid down, and never woke up again. Passed away that night. So you can imagine the distraught that my stepdad felt, me and my siblings felt, when we found out that this person that we loved so much, that we cared for, had passed away from drugs. The after effect was not any easier. You know, someone passes away, you make plans for them to be buried, you have a ceremony for them, all of that stuff, you know, to honor them before they make their final journey home. that wasn't any easier at all. His biological brother, our other stepbrother, just couldn't cope. So there was a lot of sort of disconnection between both families, and ultimately it took us nearly a month just to bring my brother home to his home community and to finally bury him. So drugs is a dangerous thing for youth, especially you guys, because you guys have your lives ahead of you. And it's very real. The danger is very real. Like if you can't take it from, you know, health professionals, your teachers, your principals, even your parents, if you can't take it from them, then take it from me, who has been affected by drugs, whose family has been torn upside down from drugs. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you, just so you guys know how close to home drugs is, the impact of it, the long-term effects, the dangers, which is why we're here today. We're sort of trying to instill a preventive measure within all of you to decide to not to do drugs. And obviously, no one can be there with you 24/7 to tell you to stop, but you have to decide, do I want to take this chance where you might fall into hard substance abuse and become addicts yourselves? Or do you want to turn away from that and try and build yourself into something that you can be proud of? So, to sum it all up, as Indigenous youth, I'll I'll say this again. As Indigenous youth yourselves, you're more highly likely to become involved with substance abuse, but it's also up to you guys to decide whether or not you're going to. And I think that's pretty much all we have for our presentation. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time and coming down and listening to us. We really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. And give yourselves a hand. And also don't forget, if you guys do need support, we do offer support for youth at Onion Lake Healing and Wellness. Ask the front desk for a phone number, or you can call us at 306-344-5033. Hi.
That is all for the presentation at Sagas, presented by Duchesne, Trache, and but they did a really good job on talking about drugs and alcohol and substance abuse. But next, we are going to be heading to the new round hall now for the elders. Gate starts at 1 o'clock, but there's going to be food over there at 12, so come over and eat. And that's about everything. We will see you over there.